So, welcome to this Secrets to a Successful nomination at the Gen CFO Awards. My name's Chris Argent. I'm the founder of Gen CFO, and I will be your host for the Gen CFO Awards on the 19th of June, where we will be celebrating the very best in the accounting and finance industry in business in London. Now, it's your opportunity to ask me absolutely anything, to get tips and tricks on how to nominate, what the nominations are, why even nominate in the first place. So ask as many questions as you like, use the Q&A buttons, or just simply type into the chat. Now, if you don't know what the Gen CFO Awards is about, we want to improve the role of accounting and finance in business. We want you guys to have better jobs. We want you to have better futures. We want your teams to evolve and your roles to evolve. We want you to create more value in the business that you operate in. And ultimately, we want you to make a huge difference to the companies that you work for with better roles, better teams, better leadership. And we believe that that is worth celebrating. So we are here with a peer-to-peer community awards that is going to celebrate all of the best people in the world working in accounting and finance. And I think this is going to be the absolute highlight of everybody's year who's involved. Now, the awards take place at the Ministry of Sound in London, and it's the 5th year that we've run it. And this event is really the highlight of not only the Gen CFO community, but the entire profession. And we're partnered with institutions and partnered with companies who are there to celebrate with their teams. Now, why sort of be part of an awards at all? Now, there's various reasons, but ultimately, this is about peer recognition. Peer recognition is a huge motivator for everybody, whether it's the individual, whether it's the nominator, whether it's the leader, whether it's the team. There's something special about that sort of peer-to-peer recognition. And these awards are judged by your peers. These awards are judged by people in the industry who understand your job, understand the change that you're going through. So therefore, to be shortlisted or to win is a huge win already, let alone actually winning on the night. Now, there are various reasons why you might want to be involved, as well as that sort of team morale, but it's to also potentially attract future talent. We know that there's talent shortage, definitely a sort of modern skill set that we need in finance is in short supply, and we're all sort of adjusting to that. But if you're innovating and if you're demonstrating that you're a progressive company, progressive team, progressive leader, then you're going to attract that talent. And all of the sort of exposure and the accolades that you have of being part of the Gen CFO Awards is going to help with that. We also think that, this is great just for you and your exposure. Anybody who has a desire to be promoted or to progress is also considering their brand at the moment, their personal brand. And, obviously, if you are seen as an award winner and you can put that on your profile, put that on your CV, it's seen as a massive advantage in the market, especially when it's celebrated by peers, such as the Gen CFO Awards are. Couple of other things, be your own cheerleader. And what we mean by this is a lot of people ask us whether it's okay to self-nominate or whether, my nomination is good enough to actually nominate. Well, I would say just nominate and see how it goes. And I'm going to go into a little bit of detail of what the judges are looking for. But if you feel that you've done something that's helped your team progress, whether it's at an individual level and you did it by yourself, or at a team level or an organizational level, then just apply. But make sure that you kind of take that step and you say, you know what, this is good enough, and I'm going to apply and be your own cheerleader. Also, submissions are free. A lot of people have asked whether we have to pay to be part of the process. No, you don't. This is a community awards, and we feel it would be kind of wrong to be charging people at point of entry, because that's going to restrict the number of great people out there who are actually applying for an award. And lastly, why be involved on the nomination process? Well, if you're shortlisted, you will also get an entry ticket. So if you really want to be part of it and come on the night, then obviously just being part of the shortlist will guarantee you a seat on the night. Now, how do we get this nomination process going? So it's super simple process. It's a 3-step process, and we have tested this survey over the last 5 years, simplified it, and now it's down to actually, I think, about 7-8 minutes to fill out. Now, the first thing that you need to do is just decide on a category based on the work that you do. And one of my tips here is write down a list of all the achievements that you've sort of achieved this year. You could do it on your own. You could do it with your team. You could go and look at all of the list of things that you've actually achieved in the year in your project planning system or wherever it may be. But write down all the great things that you've done and think, right, where does that fit into the categories? And I'll come on to the categories in a minute. So select a category that you want to be part of. Then just take all those achievements into the nomination form. It's super easy to fill out. We're looking for a level of detail, but you've been living this throughout the year, no doubt. So it'd be really easy to fill in all of that detail. And the third step is we will let you know whether you're part of the nomination process, the shortlist, in April. So nominations close in March. There's a short period where the judges scramble around to make sure that we've got a shortlist, and then you will be advised in April. So plenty of time to prepare for the night. Make sure that you've got the right outfit for the night, and also to get the team along or invite guests. April to June is a great period. So how do you win? I think the detail here is really about cutting back on all of the things that you might have done and keeping it simple. Now, whatever you have achieved, it might be something technology wise, it might be something people wise, it might be improving process, it might be simply having a plan to do all those things. And believe me, that is good enough for a nomination, because starting is the biggest step. So if you've got a strategy to actually implement or to do something different, change your org structure to work differently, that is as good as actually being in the middle of an implementation or even finishing the implementation. A lot of people ask whether we should wait until we've actually implemented something, but I say no, because actually we need to be showing people that we're on this journey. It's not just about turning up and saying, look what I've done. We need to plan for this, we need to do it, and then we need to sort of execute. So you need to show that we've actually moved from sort of the old way of working to a new way of working. And like I said, that could be as a strategy and implementation, technology, people, process, all those things. Also focus on the impacts that it's made, rather than all the great things that you did from a technical point of view. We really want to focus on high impact, how it helped you. Did it save you time? Did it change your relationships? Was there a greater business benefit to what you've done? And it could be a tiny, tiny gain, but obviously over a year, it's added up to quite an impact. So focus on the things that have impact. Now, this is a sort of progressive, innovative award. So obviously anything new, whether it's, Gen AI or, just a new way of thinking within the team, design thinking, agile thinking, growth mindset, whatever it is, anything that's focused on the new and the innovative is definitely going to catch the judge's eye, more than maybe the sort of traditional implementations that have happened in the past or changes that have happened in the past. So lots of things to consider when putting your application forward, but really keep it simple. You know what you've been able to achieve, and like I said, 7-8 minutes to fill in that form is well worth it. So what's up for grabs? So there's lots of different categories, and if you have a look in the chat, and we'll give you a QR code to scan in a second. There's lots of different categories to choose from, but just to highlight that the categories have an SME, a small medium enterprise category, a enterprise category, so if you're in a larger organization, and an international category as well. So obviously choose the category, and there will be 3 awards for each of those categories. Because we feel it wouldn't be right if there was an SME up against an enterprise and vice versa. And actually, you're doing very different things in the solutioning and in the implementation. So we want to make sure that people are recognised in the right categories. But we have detail on this, which I'm more than happy for you to read, digest, and ask questions now. But basically, there are sort of these headline categories of finance leader, an individual who's actually made change, the rising hero, which is probably someone within that team who's really making change, transformation, thinking differently. And then there's the whole team, so the team of the year. Now, from a more sort of technical point of view, there is the sort of transformation of the year. So, is there a change from a technological point of view? We've also called out a few kind of individual categories as well. So shared services, again, they do something very different to sort of corporate head office. So we focused on that. Social media of the year, like I said, there's lots of people out there sharing their messages, building their profile, and sort of becoming rock stars in the industry. So we've also brought in the social media category. Influential woman of the year to sort of support women in business, and everything from the gender pay gap to International Women's Day, and resource of the year as well. So again, there are lots of free resources out there. There are lots of people sharing advice in this space. So there are plenty of categories to choose from. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just leave it on this slide so people can use the QR code. They can either click on the link to get to that pack to review all the categories, or they can use the QR code now. And now's the time to sort of ask loads of questions. And it really is a sort of ask me anything. So I am going to open the floor up. Let me just have a quick look here. Great. So I've got a few questions here. So first of all, so how many times can I nominate? You can nominate as many times as you like. All I would say is that you don't need to repeat a nomination. I think it was a couple of years ago. Obviously, someone had done some amazing work, and they sent their nomination to the team. And I think we got a duplicate nomination about sort of 20, 30 times, which was fantastic to see all of the support. But you only need to sort of submit one application at a time for one category or one individual, but you can nominate as many times as you like, and we would love to see the sort of real range of progressive, innovative, change making, risk taking initiatives that are happening in accounting and finance, because it is happening, the change is there, and we'd really love to showcase those and celebrate with you. So next up we have, do I nominate myself only once, or do I get many colleagues as possible to nominate me? So again, to my point, nominate yourself, definitely, be your own cheerleader. There's, lots of things that kind of go unnoticed. So don't wait for other people to nominate you. Definitely nominate yourself. But you don't need to pile on. A good nomination stands out. It's not about quantity, it's about quality. And as I said, there's a full judging process on this. So it's really about catching the judge's eye with a good nomination rather than multiple nominations. Just heard that. Next up, is there a fee for multiple? Is there a fee to nominate multiple times? No, there isn't. There's no nomination fee at all. And like I said, if you hit the shortlist, you even get a free ticket. So I would suggest that everybody nominates. It's a duplicate. Is there an entry ticket free for shortlisters? Yes. So absolutely. We basically want to celebrate people in the industry. The reason why we started this in the first place is because I saw lots of change happening from my transformation days, which were pretty much never talked about in the industry, because those sort of technological projects were always sort of seen as not as important as the business side of what we do. And sometimes seen as sort of external temporary projects that, you know, people were just happy to see the back of. I don't agree with that. I think that this is now a core part of what we do, whether it's, you know, continuous improvement or whether it's, you know, the technological changes that are forcing businesses to change, let alone finance and accounting itself. I would make sure that, you know, it's something that you celebrate, and to give back, we just make sure that it's free to enter. And if you're shortlisted, you get a free ticket as well, just to make sure that you can be there. I don't want to be known. Are nominations anonymous? So that's a funny question for an awards, because if obviously, you know, if you're going to put yourself forward for an award, we want to celebrate that. So, you know, if you are shortlisted, you will be announced as a shortlister. It will have, you know, your photo, your details, you know, the all of the sort of fact that you're involved in the awards. It won't have the nomination detail in there. We keep that private for the judging process. But, you know, there will be exposure as a result of this, you know, good brand awareness. So I would suggest it, look, if you really don't want the exposure, then maybe nominate somebody else, or nominate you know, your boss or whoever was involved in that project. But, you know, you're happy to sit at the back and just be a cheerleader for them. So I want to nominate, but I don't want it to be known. Are nominations open or anonymous? So yeah, like I said, they're all anonymous. They're all open. The actual nomination detail will not be used publicly. That will just be for the judging process. But you will be celebrated as being part of the shortlist, and also hopefully being a winner on the night. Will people see that I've nominated myself? So no, they won't. And whether you've nominated yourself or whether someone else has nominated you is irrelevant to our judges. In fact, even they don't know whether you've been nominated. What we do is we do a bit of a sense check on each nomination. And we sometimes ask people to second the nomination just to make sure that it's all above board. But, you know, absolutely, you know, people will not see if you've nominated yourself. And whoever wrote that, make sure you do nominate yourself. And how will the shortlist be announced? So the shortlist, we will be working on that, like I said, from the closing date, which is the 14th of March, through to early April. And that will, you know, be hundreds of entries, you know, being put into the categories, being put into SME, enterprise, and international. And when that has been kind of agreed internally, we will then announce that. And the judging process will be happening in the background all the way up to June 19th, when the actual event takes place. And you will see that on socials. You will see that as part of the Gen CFO community, if you're part of the community. And it's also a good point to stress that, you know, this is a public awards. Obviously, there's a community behind the awards, and we stand for all these great things as a community. but it's open to everybody. You don't need to be a member of the community to be part of this or to submit a nomination. But there will be public profile, there will be social media, there will be announcements, and also we're partnering up with a couple of the accounting institutions, and I'm sure they'll want to celebrate the shortlisting as well if you are shortlisted and part of their institution. So what can we expect on the night? Well, that'll be telling. A night full of celebration, a night full of community, people coming together who really are like-minded, people who, like I said, who want to celebrate the fact that they've got great jobs, but they want to improve them. They want to celebrate the fact that they've worked damn hard, whether individually as a team or as a leader, and they want to go and find and talk to like-minded people. And I think, the on the night is really all about a shared experience. It's just, I know that I'm surrounded by people who are like me, doing things like me, and who are the best of the best. And obviously, the Ministry of Sound is, a fantastic venue. It's a world-class venue. There's so many lights to play with. We're still working on exactly, what the night will look like in terms of all of the drama and the music and the glamour. But it will be a night of celebration, and we will announce more on that after we have done the nominations and the shortlisted. And one more question. So, what's the detailed extent of evidence required during the nomination process, and how best to avoid giving away sensitive, privileged, and confidential company data? Well, first of all, do not put anything confidential into your nominations. I think it's fairly public what companies are using technology. So I don't see mentioning technology being an issue. It's fairly public when, things that are non-commercial are being worked on. So if there are processes, if there's, org design, talent change, skills initiatives, technological change, transformation programs, all of that stuff tends to be in the public domain, because you'll see it through HR, you'll see it through recruitment, you'll see it through requests for tender in the consulting spaces, you'll see it on technology websites, and you'll also see it on a lot of, you probably won't be aware of this, but a lot of data services out there know exactly what technology you use for each company. So there is definitely sort of a lot of information that you can share without it being confidential. If there are certain sort of benefits and gains that you think you've seen, which might be confidential, then I would probably, refer to what's publicly known and put that in, rather than, anything sort of sensitive, because we don't want to get into any kind of conversations about sensitive data being used. And then extent of evidencing. So what we do is, we put our trust in you as professionals to make sure that all of those nominations are valid. But what we do is we will spot check some of the nominations. Like I said, we sometimes ask for a bit more detail, a bit more evidence, or for a nomination to be seconded, just so that we have a little bit of rigor around that nomination process. But to be honest, a lot of the time, the nominations speak for themselves, and you can kind of see what is happening, at the company or with the individual that's involved. Like I said, because there's so much public data available, but we will do sort of like desktop research on the shortlist, particularly just to make sure that that's all good. So I think that answers all of the questions. Let me just have a quick look. No, I think that's it. So what I would suggest is, like I said, the secret of nominations is there's no secret really. The one thing to do is to start. The one thing to do is to actually have a look at the categories, to sit down, write down all of your achievements, and to be your own cheerleader, and to make sure that you actually fill out that nomination form. And I guarantee you, it's time well spent. I was going to say money well spent there, but it's time well spent. Not just because you've got a chance of being nominated and shortlisted and coming to the best night of 2025, but it's also really motivating. When was the last time that you actually stopped and thought, right, what have I achieved over the last 12 months? What have, as a team, what can we call out as worthy of a nomination? And there are a lot of people who nominate purely as a team exercise to say, right, this is motivating for us to simply have a conversation and to pause and to celebrate. And you could go the other end to sort of say, we're actually going to nominate, the team for various awards, and we're actually going to have our team day, on the 19th of June, and go and celebrate as a team in the evening, which I think is a fantastic way of approaching the awards, because as you can see, it's all about motivation and bringing people together. But look, I'm going to stop there. I don't think there are any more questions. So the best of luck with the Gen CFO Awards. I really look forward to hosting you on the night, seeing you there, and celebrating your success. But just make sure you submit before the 14th of March. Take care, and let's celebrate together.